Hello, and welcome aboard another episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. This is your captain speaking, Taylor Morgan. On today's episode, we have another special guest. His name is Austin Kasso. Austin is the founder and CEO of Striver and the creator of Facebook's most popular sustainable living group, which now has close to 100,000 members. He's been featured by Facebook and was voted one of the top 50 sexiest environmentalists. And his work is trailblazing. His career, it's helping people achieve their sustainable goals, which, as you guys know, is something I'm extremely passionate about. And Austin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so let's talk about your background. What started first? Was it Striver or the Sustainable Living Facebook group?
Well, actually, sustainable living was the first thing that I started. And before that, I was more involved with studying local agriculture and local food systems. And so that was my main focus. And then the Facebook group kind of took off on its own after, I would feed it from time to time. And then it kind of developed a life of its own. And that's when it started building kind of its own opportunity.
Okay. So are you familiar with regenerative agriculture?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I had a guest on the show a while back, and I'm gonna have, what's her name? This documentary that just came out about regenerative agriculture. Anyways, yeah, that's something that I'm passionate about. I think that's the only way that we can fix our food system and create food that is truly sustainable, where we're not over consuming and all these issues. So what gave you the idea to start the Facebook group?
Well, it stemmed just from my overall passion to want to connect people on this, idea of trying to work together to build a more sustainable future. And I figure, a Facebook group would be a good place to start having that conversation to, try to figure out what the world of sustainability looks like, what our, conditions are, how we can all help each other, how we can, best promote our causes. I thought we can all have one space where, we would do that.
Mm-hmm. And how have you grown it to close to 100,000 members now? Tell me about that process.
That, I feel like half of it is, the engine of Facebook, the algorithms promoting the group. Just by the mere fact that we had a lot of activity that was diverse and centered on a topic that's trending right now. And we were also one of the few Facebook groups that started on the topic. So we were the first place people saw when they searched it on Facebook. So that gave us an advantage. And also just the consistency of the content and the quality of the content. A lot of it has been, due to our own activity as a moderation team, interacting with members, giving them a reason to be there. Us kind of, inspiring new content. So we find ways to engage the audience, and the audience at the same time, people in the group engage themselves with their own conversations.
Yeah, it's a fantastic group, because a lot of Facebook groups, especially with a lot of members, I find that they're not very engaging at all. Like, people post and nobody sees it, and there's no real conversations going, but that is not the case for sustainable living.
And I think that's the case too, because it's something that right now people are so passionate about. There's so many different views on the topic that there's so many points of debate. And so there's a lot of stuff on social media that people just want to avoid. But then with sustainability, it's such an important topic that people are compelled to engage with it, especially if they see something they don't agree with, or even if they see something that they do agree with and they want to promote it, they want to advocate it. Because it's important to them. It's something that I feel like our group especially is it drives itself on the basis of very passionate people. And that's, I think, the most significant thing about it.
Mhm. When did you start the group?
Back in 2014.
Okay,
And for the
awesome.
longest time, it only had about a couple thousand members. And it started just with people that were on my friends list, and mainly with just me posting into the group. And then during the beginning of the pandemic, however, that's actually when it went from, I think at that time it had about 6 or 8,000 members, and then it grew rapidly to 20,000 members within just a couple months. And from there, it just kept growing consistently, and now it's at close to 100,000.
Wow.
I think that's also what it was already positioned uh, as, a very engaging group. And then when, a very existential crisis hit, a lot of people thought more about it. And so they went, and searched it on Facebook, and we were the first ones that came up.
Nice. Yeah, good ideas spread. And I'm glad that more people are starting to become aware of this issue, because if we don't start talking about this, we're not going to have a world much longer, at least a world that is going to be enjoyable to live in, right? What do you think the major problem is right now facing just us as a society regarding sustainability?
I think that the best way I could describe this is just to there's this book that I read years ago when I was spending time on my cousin's farm during my years of high school. I would go to North Carolina and spend time on their farm. And I was reading a book called The End of Poverty by Jeffrey Sachs. And in it, he discussed how he diagnoses society like a human body. He looks at all the parts as, a system that's working together. And, if all the parts are acting against themselves, then, you're going to have, a very unhealthy or a dead body. And that's, the basis from which he writes that book. And I agreed with that point. And that's kind of how I looked at it from then on, and how I intended to try to, orient my contributions in sustainability towards, helping, connect people and resources to create a more cooperative environment, to drive, to follow on this idea that, society is, we're all organs and cells working together, where, we can't fight against ourselves. We have to kind of utilize our resources for a greater good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, like we're just not together. Like we're so separated in a lot of our views, when in reality, I think we all want the same thing. The majority of people, I believe, all want the same thing, health and happiness and a world that we can thrive in. And I think a lot of it just comes down to communication and just, understanding the consequences of our actions. I think overconsumption is a huge deal that people don't even think about. Like you get a plastic bag from the grocery store and you think it's just a bag that you carry your stuff in, but in reality, like that plastic bag is going to be around for another 1,000+ years. And it's like just simple things that people don't even see because it's not directly affecting them in that moment. So what are some ways that you think sustainable living, your Facebook group specifically, can help people first understand what's going on and then take actionable steps to move forward?
Well, I think the group is a great starting point for getting an idea of what people are talking about in sustainability and what all the diverse views are, what the resources that people are sharing are. It's a good point, for research. And then from there, people can figure out who's working on what initiatives, just because people are sharing it into the group. They're sharing what they're doing, they're sharing what they're involved with, they're sharing what they need help with. And we have everything from experts to beginners. There's a connection there from, people who are just looking to start, and people who are willing to offer help.
So that sounds like that's where Striver comes in, because you have this essentially like a database of all these different companies, brands, events, whatever. Talk to me a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, so I noticed just as the group continued to grow, more and more people were asking in the group, they'd say things like, I'm trying to search on Google, but I'm having no luck. But I'm just trying to find sustainable brands to support, or sustainable initiatives, but I don't know who to trust or where to start. And so I saw a lot of those questions, and then I also saw a lot of people trying to promote their brand in our group. And the thing is with that is, once you allow with promotion in groups, it gets out of hand very quickly, because it becomes what everybody wants to do, and it becomes like surveys and a bunch of petitions.
Everybody wants to take instead of give.
Right. And so when I kind of put regulation on that, as the group started to grow, we had actually had more engagement from the group, just because people were there for conversation and discussion, not just advertising. But it's also a great space to advertise with, to balance it out with, pepper it in there, and you get great engagement on that as well. But if you do, if you flood it, then you're ruining it for everybody. So that's kind of the idea of Striver. Was we figured out a strategy to utilize this, and also to create a platform that would build itself as its own independent resource over time, to be a very organized and efficient all-in-one resource where people can discover sustainable brands and campaigns anywhere in the world. And it starts with the group, because at the same time, I realized, here's another hypothetical. I could freely just allow the group to just post whatever they want in the group all the time and leave it alone. And people suggested that I do that. And I remember, for a very short amount of time, we tried that, and it was not going well. So, but what I noticed was, let's say everybody did that, but then people are going to be searching, and it's still going to be difficult to sort through it all, and to find, to find what you're actually looking for. So there needs to be a directory that organizes things more efficiently. And so I figured this would be kind of that space where it would capture and collect all that information, and then organize it, and then feature it into the group from there.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea, because I think one of the reasons why a lot of these Facebook groups have, no traction, and maybe they do have a lot of members, but nobody's talking, like there's just a bunch of posts, no engagement on the posts, is because it's just people advertising their own stuff. And nobody wants to go to a Facebook group to see just a bunch of advertisements and people pushing their own thing. So I think that's fantastic that you just curated all of them into this one location. And by doing so, you can kind of weed out some of the ones that you don't necessarily want, right? Like, I'm sure there would be people who come to you or post in the group that you don't necessarily want to advertise that.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people who, and there being a small fee into it also is for a lot of good reasons. Allows us to, one, basically maintain the website and build the platform itself, but also to be its own regulatory means of, sifting through people who are serious about engaging with our group versus people who are just there to dump and go, and there's a lot of people who just want to, dump their spam into groups and then ignore it and never even, participate in the group. And so we're kind of, eliminating those kinds of people, and so with when we're narrowing it down to people who really are here for our group, we're just, ensuring 100% engagement from all of our members.
Yeah, I absolutely think that there should be a charge for that, because yeah, people who aren't willing to invest in their company are not really, you know, in business for the right reasons. I feel like they just want to take. And especially in, the sustainability area, I feel like if you're not willing to pay for a curated platform like that, like what you've created, then you're probably greenwashing, just using all these terms, but without actually caring about or being serious about sustainability.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to put yourself in the face of people who are really serious about sustainability, or are you just trying to, spam everybody?
Yeah.
It's the difference.
What are some of the benefits of becoming a Striver member? Like what can a brand expect?
Well, there's a lot of benefits. For what I think our biggest incentive is the fact that we're reaching a 90% targeted audience at exceptionally cheaper rates,
Hmm.
compared to an industry average where targeted, marketing can reach about 2 to 10% from professional agencies. On the higher point, 10 to 20% maybe,
Mhm.
but that's your average. What we're doing is we're putting brands in front of people who are actively seeking and interested in sustainability. They're also connecting to a global and local audience. There's over 99 different countries in our Facebook group, and our website itself can serve 135 countries. About just because our, the payment processing platform can serve 135 countries.
Wow.
Um, so they can also feature multiple brands, campaigns, and events on one account. Every feature is unique, so you can list different campaigns in different locations. For example, let's say you have a global audience, but you have a specific campaign that you want people in Australia to find, and then you also have a campaign that you want people in New Zealand to find. You can set those campaigns in those separate locations with each feature.
Mm.
So there's a lot of flexibility to it. You can, promote different websites, different channels. And the other thing that I think is huge about us is that our feed is open. There's no algorithms that determine who sees what. Everybody's content shows up on everybody's feed. And then at the same time, people can then from there sort what shows up on their feed. So that's good for, both brands and visitors. To not, I think a lot of people get frustrated by social media because algorithms determine what they see based on their, quote unquote interests.
Mhm.
But what if we didn't have a computer determining who is interested in what? What if we let people determine what they're interested in?
Mhm.
So, and then people continue reaping benefits after canceling their monthly subscription, unlike a lot of advertising services where, they snub you when your budget's complete. Every submission on Striver remains permanently on our website and continues to appear in search results in our Facebook group. However, they might be eventually pushed further down in results with new content. That's the benefit of maintaining your monthly subscription and continuing to produce new content.
Right. Well, I love that you can customize the campaigns to location, if you're a local business, or if you're in a different country. And it sounds like I gotta get some of my clients on there, because I coach, impact driven entrepreneurs who are big in sustainability, and that would be perfect. Instead of using Instagram where it's the whole entire world, you can target it to this one specific group. So what kind of either brands or events, what can we find on Striver? Is it just like a mix of everything, of like products, and what can people expect to look for there?
Well, we have basically everything. But there's with our monthly plans, and what we're actually soon to be offering is a single listing offer for people who just want to post once to our website and either be featured in our group or not be featured in our group. So we'll have some variety there, some cheaper foots into the door. With that, our of those have their ideal market. And so, for instance, single listings, where people can benefit from being discoverable on our platform without committing to a monthly plan, those people will, be the kinds who produce sparsely generated content, such as monthly newsletters, surveys, and petitions. This is also ideal for educational, influential, and promotional pages, such as Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. It's ideal for farms, local shops, farmers markets, restaurants, CSA projects, co-ops, real estate listings, people who want to be discoverable on our platform but don't have, necessarily a continuous marketing campaign that they need. Then for the monthly subscriptions, where you get, several features per month, those are ideal for people who publish weekly content that generates sales, donations, or subscriptions. So this would be ideal for online stores doing product features, crowdfunders, producing updates about their campaign, podcasts, producing new episodes, blog articles, and so forth. And then, our higher tier plan is ideal for people who publish daily content, that also generates sales, donations, and subscriptions. And this is also ideal for people who manage multiple brands and channels and promote a variety of things.
Wow. So it sounds like basically anything sustainable related,
Right.
you can probably find on Striver.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. It's like a Costco type thing. Like everything's there, whatever you want. That's super cool. What do you think is like what's like the most popular thing that people are looking for?
Right now, I think a lot of personal care and fashion. A lot of beginners, think, the first thing is, what can I do to change what's, in my household?
Right.
What are the simple things that I can do? And then, there's a lot of people also looking for crowdfunders to support. So, and also, just a lot of independent artisans, a lot of, smaller businesses.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we support the small businesses, specifically the sustainable businesses, because, places like, the big stores like Walmart and Target, their prices are getting so low, but they're not quality products. Like it's a lot of stuff imported from China, made of plastic. Like they don't care about sustainability, they just care about profits, right? So I think it's
Right.
very important that we do start to support these more local and small sustainable brands, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also the quality and the creativity that goes into a lot of the products is way better than you can find in one of the big stores. So if somebody wants to find out about something sustainable, like a sustainable switch they can make, or something they can donate to, or an event that's happening that they could volunteer at, that can all be found on Striver.
Exactly. They can zero in on their location or any other location. So,
Wow.
They can find out what's going on in other cities. If let's say there's a festival that's raising money for food insecurity and they're going on a vacation and they want to see what festivals are going on that are sustainable, they can support while they're on vacation. That's kind of thing, go to Striver and figure out who's striving to do that, where,
Super cool. And what's the website?
Striver.online.
Perfect. And all this will be in the show notes for everybody listening. What about for a brand or somebody hosting an event who wants to sign up for Striver to promote? Where can they go?
It would be the same place. We're working on making it more user-friendly and more intuitive, as far as when somebody visits our site, they know where to go, what to do, and we're getting better at that. But sometimes people do have questions about how it works, and so just to clarify, people go to our pricing plans on the menu, and they purchase one of the plans and start submitting features. And they can also, visit our FAQ page for any other questions. But our biggest question that we tend to get is, when people visit our site, they look at the search filters and they might not see their city or country. And so they might not think that we serve their city or country, and we actually do. It's just that we haven't received any submissions from that location yet. So the filters on the homepage are adaptive, and they grow according to submissions.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's striver.online. Again, all this will be in the show notes, so you guys can check it out. And what about the Sustainable Living Facebook group? I mean, sounds pretty self-explanatory. Just search that on Facebook. You're the most popular one, so it'll show up.
And it's also the link. It's linked on our Striver website as well.
Perfect. Any other socials that you want to plug?
That's about it. We're pretty much Facebook and our website.
Sweet. All right, Austin. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and for even creating, the Sustainable Living group. I think it's fantastic, the amount of knowledge and support that you're spreading with that group, and also Striver. I think that's amazing, and I'm definitely going to have to tell my clients to hop on there. So yeah, thanks again for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much.